Experiencing childhood trauma does not mean that you can't have a very bright future, such as the case for Kat in Wendell and Wild, a Netflix original from writer-director Henry Selick, who directed Nightmare Before Christmas. Yes, believe it or not, people are still saying Tim Burton did A Nightmare Before Christmas. Yes, he had a lot to do with it, but Henry Selick, he doesn't get nearly the credit that he deserves. It's about time that he got his flowers. I think that's how that terminology goes. I don't really understand that because kids these days talk about those weird things. Nevertheless, he also did James and the Giant Peach. The symbolism is in the title. If you can't figure out the symbolism of a movie called James and the Giant Peach, I really don't know what I can do to help you. But he also did Coraline, which is one of my favorite animated, yes, stop motion animation is a type of animation. That's why it's called stop motion animation and not stop motion, I don't know, moon landing. It's one of my favorite animated movies of all time. It's creepy, it's terrifying, and my goodness, this movie's more terrifying than a lot of horror movies I've seen in the last 10 to 20 years. Utterly crazy. I don't understand how they call this a kid's movie. Because, my God, the fact that it was able to, well, it could have easily had an R rating if they really wanted to go for it, but that would have cut the audience out. But honestly, so freaking terrifying and so good. Watch Coraline. It's really good. Much like Coraline and much like Nightmare Before Christmas, to be perfectly honest, this kind of goes with the dark, spooky theme where writer Jordan Peele also has something to do with it. Yes, Jordan Peele teams up with Keegan-Michael Key. Key and Peele are back together as Wendell and Wild. Which, if you couldn't figure that out from the title, I really don't know what to do to help you. Jordan Peele brought us, and also Monkey Paw Productions, which is his production company. Kind of makes sense given how he just understands horror, like with Get Out, Us, and the recent Nope. All three are terrific. Nope might be the best thing that he's done, and that's saying something. So it's also based on a book by Henry Selick and Clay Chapman. McLeod. Nevertheless, there's Lyric Ross. She voices Kat, who's a 13-year-old girl that 5 years previously had suffered traumatic loss when her parents died in an auto accident. And she's blamed herself for it ever since. You see how in the beginning of the movie. And from there, we get a little bit of backstory, we get some flashbacks, and then we get some stuff where she is going back to Rust Bank, the town that she grew up in. It's in disarray. It's like an outpost. It's almost like they made Detroit an Alaskan outpost. Honestly, I don't really understand what kind of drugs somebody would have been on or what kind of drugs anybody could have been on to come up with this stuff, but it's really creepy, really weird. So, where do Wendell and Wild come in? Well, they are two brothers that have a father that has a carnival on his stomach in the underworld. No, really, there's a lot of weird shit going on here, and they have dreams of coming up with their own dream fair where people will pay them, they will make a whole lot of money, and it's great. And Wendell is voiced by Keegan-Michael Key, and Wild is voiced by Jordan Peele. And they have this great idea, and it turns out that they are actually connected to Kat, because in addition to being somebody that is suffering from traumatic loss and back at this Reformed Catholic school, that is pretty much the only building seemingly with any kind of functioning electricity outside of maybe two in this whole outpost area, she is connected to them because it turns out she, well, has a bit of a spiritual connection to them. I'll just say that much. I'll get into spoilers here in a little bit. And also, there's a character named Raul that it also is trans. I'm sure that's going to anger the pearl collectors, as it were. But you know what? Let's have inclusivity in the best way. And honestly, the way they do it is pretty cool. So it's also stop motion, much like the previous movies that I mentioned. It is in the vein of Coraline, and I will say it did do a lot. It had a lot of, like, you know, I guess popular music or pop culture music. You could check out the full-on soundtrack and the listing and everything. Just Google it. Google it, as the kids say. And the story's well played out enough. I will say, though, it's kind of missing the magic of Coraline. Coraline was breezy, creepy, and had some stakes that actually seemed kind of legit, kind of creepy. Like, holy shit, this stuff could actually be something. It's a little bit fanciful, but it handled the family dynamic of, like, you know, appreciating what you have and all that. And yeah, this kind of turns it on its head with Kat not wanting to get close to anybody because she lost her family and all that, and she's very, very guarded. And she has to learn to trust people, and also learns that she has some particular gifts. And Angela Bassett is a voice in this, and Angela Bassett, just seeing her, I would, and you still would too. I mean, honestly, look at Angela Bassett. She doesn't look anywhere near 60. Honestly, it's astonishing. She must have the fountain of youths, as the kids say. And there are other voices in this as well. James Hong, who's the director, so to speak, of this Catholic school. And also there's this plot of this corporation wanting to take over and level everything and come up with this prison system, and the prison school, reform school thing, kind of a way to just funnel the stuff out and not give any kids a chance and all that. That's pretty much just it right there. And from there, we have a movie that is good, but is missing the magic of Coraline. That's actually pretty much it right there. There's a lot of, there's quite a bit missing with this. I feel they captured the family dynamic well. There weren't a lot of stakes to this though, and it also felt stretched out, despite the fact it's about the same length as Coraline. Coraline was breezy and had a good enough pace to it, was well told. This looks fancy, is in the same vein, and just something's missing from making this an A-grade movie is really all I have to, is really the best way I can put it before I get into spoilers. And it's good, it's well acted, the voice acting's pretty good. And there are some good some really good, stop motion animation points, and we get a good insight that Henry Selick still has a good amount of the magic. But I fear that this might actually be about the last good one that maybe he could do. Now it is based on a book by him, so maybe he's starting to lose a little bit of steam. There's still something there. It may not be his best work, but it's certainly a cut above a lot of stuff that has come out in the last year. I mean, good God, I'll take this over the frickin' Pinocchio remake that Disney did with Robert Zemeckis and Tom Hanks, and it wasted $150 million. This at least had some life and energy, just didn't quite have the same magic as Coraline. So I'm going to get into spoilers here. That's just your fair warning right there. It's on Netflix if you got a subscription. It's one of the better Netflix originals come out in a while. So anyway, 3, 2, 1, spoilers. Okay. So Kat lost her she lost her family when she was younger. She blames herself. And it turns out that Wendell and Wild, they are working on their father's body, literally. I mean, they're farming around their father and everything. And they have this little pig type thing that can suck up dirt and suck up stuff and whatever. And they find out that this magical cream, this hair cream that the father uses, actually has life-giving properties. It can bring ticks back to life. It can bring everything back to life temporarily. So they decide, hey, wait a second, let's take this cream and let's go find a way to sell it on the surface world, and we'll do that. Meanwhile, Angela Bassett's sister Helly, no, really, that's her name, she is trying to basically prevent, she's trying to protect Kat because she knows that she is a Hell Maiden. Somebody that can summon. That's why she's got some kind of teeth thing on her hand where she could think like this and everything, and it's like a face hugger. So yeah, from there, it turns out that there's a connection that she is able to summon Wendell and Wild, and she wants them to resurrect her parents. Well, before that, they end up resurrecting James Hong's character because he gets killed by the two people that are heading this whole Klax Corporation. No, really, that's their name. The Ku Klux, nope, not going to say the rest of that right there. They want to do the whole reform school prison system and everything and funnel them around and just make a whole bunch of money. Their daughter is part of this clique, but she, in school, but she's actually one of the good ones, Sabayan. And this gets brought up a little bit later in the movie, but she appreciates Kat, and it turns out the Kat can also see the future. I can see into the future. I've stopped you from killing my race. In the future. Well, you already did that. I know you do that. And she does get her parents resurrected. She is able to come to grips with what she did. They don't blame her. It's not her fault. Honey, you were 8. You didn't do. We'd never have blamed you. And that was kind of touching. And then she has to come to grips with her own memories and fight through them. Sister Helly helps her there. And then eventually they have to turn back. They have to fight against the system. They have to fight against this corporation and stop this whole deal. And the only way that this corporation is able to take over is they have to have enough votes, so they bring back the old council members that have since passed with that magic resurrection cream, easier for me to say, and now they're going to be able to go forward. But they get stopped because they all get killed in dispatch, but the cream is temporary, so everybody is going to eventually fade away, including her parents. Also, the character Raoul has created this mural on top of all these He's doing an art project and creating this whole thing of a parent protecting their child. The father has rose to the surface. Father Belzar, the one with the carnival on his stomach, and he realizes, hey, wait a second, I got all this stuff going on, or I got all this stuff going on. You're my kids. Parents should always try to protect their children, and that's kind of the theme there. And it's a good theme. Don't get me wrong. It's just, again, it's a movie that's missing kind of the magic because there aren't a lot of stakes. No meaty stakes. And that's pretty much really my only criticism. Like, Kat is able to bond with her parents one more time, show them the future, then they pass on, and she's able to have this. She's able to be a Hell Maiden. She's able to be this. They're able to bring Rustbank back. And the people got arrested in the corporation because it turns out they actually started this brewery fire that led to the downfall of the city or the little town area, and the only way you could get is to get a witness. So suddenly bringing people back from the dead that were part of the fire count as witnesses. I guess that holds up in court. And there you go. Good animation, in fact, great animation, and a good story. Maybe not a great story, kind of basic in parts. And it was what it was. It wasn't a bad movie at all. I'm going to give it a B for the solid positives of it, even if the negatives are, just nipping at the heels. It's certainly not a bad movie, so B. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Recklin. I'll see you soon.